The Orlando Magic had another solid season, but was once again held back by a number of injuries. Just when it seemed like the Magic were starting to make a run, someone went down with an injury. That happened again in the bubble when Jonathan Isaac went down with a torn ACL. A player with a lot of talent, but has never been able to stay healthy. Lineup changes are something that head coach Steve Clifford did on a regular basis. I always question the fit of Isaac and Aaron Gordon. If you add Markelle Fultz to the mix, you have three of your best players who are not good three-point shooters. That contributes to the Magic's being a below-average offensive team. Looking for a trade for Aaron Gordon might be in the plans for the Magic this offseason. Don't forget the Magic drafted MILWAUKEE in the first round last year, who hasn't played yet because of an injury late in the sophomore season at Auburn. With that in mind, the Magic may look at the guard position with this pick. With the 15th pick in the draft, the Orlando Magic select Tyrese Maxey from the University of Kentucky. Finding another offensive creator will benefit any team, especially the Orlando Magic. Tyrese Maxey has the talent and skill set to provide instant offense, something that the Magic need desperately. Maxey has natural scoring instincts and is a threat to score from anywhere on the court. Isn't afraid of the moment and can rise to the occasion. He has point guard size, but has a scoring mentality. Having him play two guard will be his best position. With a lot of teams playing lineups with two undersized guards in the backcourt, his size won't be that much of a problem as long as he can play solid on defense. A backcourt of Maxey and Fultz will be something to look forward to. Maxey shows great fight and determination on both sides of the ball. At Kentucky, he played his best against the best competition. In 3 top 5 matchups against Michigan State, Ohio State, and Louisville, Maxey averaged around 23 points on 54% shooting from the field. But on the season, he only shot around 30% from three-point range. Most scouts believe he's a better shooter than the shooting percentages for the whole season suggest. The Portland Trail Blazers were one of the hottest teams in the bubble. They had to be one of the best to be able to dig out of the hole they were in before the NBA suspended the season in March. Everybody knows if this team was relatively healthy throughout the season, they would probably be a 4th or 5th seed. Their offense was amazing throughout the season, but it seemed like their defense was optional this season. They finished in the bottom 5 in opponents' points per game and defensive rating. Maybe if Zach Collins and Yusuf Nurkic was healthy for most of the season, they might have been better. But you can't win a championship playing that badly on defense. Maybe they need to make a trade this offseason and let go of one of their star players. Carmelo is a free agent, Trevor Ariza has an unguaranteed contract for next season, and Rodney Hood is recovering from a knee injury. Small forward seems like the position they will address in the first round. With the 16th pick in the draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Aaron Nesmith from Vanderbilt University. He only played 12 games in his sophomore season, but he played like a star in those games. Nesmith saw incredible growth in his game from his freshman year to his sophomore year. He proved to be one of the deadliest shooters in the country. Nesmith averaged 23 points on 51% shooting from the field and 52% shooting from three-point range. He went from 33% from 3 during his freshman year to 52%, a dramatic improvement. Whether it's simply spotting up or running off of awareness gives him great potential on defense. He's a good but not great athlete. Nesmith is a bona fide shooter. He might be able to expand his offensive game with more time, but with his defensive potential and shooting ability, he will find plenty of playing time in the NBA. With the 17th pick in the draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Kira Lewis Jr. from the University of Alabama. Finding a legit point guard to back up D'Angelo Russell should be where the Timberwolves go with this pick. Lewis's game is predicated on his speed. He's probably the fastest prospect in the draft with the ball in his hands. His speed gives him a lot of opportunities in transition, in the pick and roll, and in isolation. At times he displays the ability to be a facilitator, but he often gets tunnel vision and misses a lot of open teammates. Lewis needs to have more confidence in his jump shot. That'll help him succeed more when he attacks the basket, which he loves to do. He was somewhat reluctant to take the open shot at times and forced the issue. He's listed at 6'3", 165 pounds with a 6'5" wingspan. His weight is a problem, and he needs to add strength immediately. He showed great anticipation on defense as he would use his speed to play the passing lanes and start the fast break. Even though he played 65 career games at the collegiate level, Lewis is still younger than most of the one-and-done freshmen that are expected to be drafted in the first round. The Dallas Mavericks made the playoffs for the first time since 2016. It's pretty remarkable that this team statistically had the best offensive rating of all time. It's better than great teams like the 2018-19 Warriors, the 2016-17 Warriors, the 86-87 Showtime Lakers, and the 91-92 Chicago Bulls. The one thing that all those great offensive teams had in common was they had at least one generational talent, and that's no doubt the case with the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic is already a superstar putting up superstar numbers, regardless if it's the regular season or the playoffs. What head coach Rick Carlisle and Luka Doncic have done with this team on offense is incredible. Their defense isn't terrible, but it could be a lot better, and it will ultimately need to be to truly compete for an NBA championship. With Luka, Jalen Brunson, Seth Curry, and DeLon Wright at the guard position, the Mavericks' focus in this draft should be in the front court, especially with Dwight Powell tearing his ACL earlier this year. With the 18th pick in the draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Jalen Smith from the University of Maryland. He was talented enough to be drafted in the first round last year, but he decided to stay for his sophomore year. Over the last month of the college basketball season, he started to add great production to go along with his potential. He added more strength, improved his field goal percentage and three-point percentage, averaged more points, rebounds, and blocks in his sophomore year. Smith is also a tremendous shot blocking presence. He averaged over 2.5 blocks per game. Smith shows great timing and awareness as a post defender, knows where he needs to be in certain spots on the court. He has a thin frame and needs to add strength to be able to bang down low with legit centers. Not a lot of top recruits that come back another year improves that much. Jalen Smith has definitely improved. Even though there weren't great expectations for the Brooklyn Nets this season because Kevin Durant wasn't playing, I still feel that this team underachieved to a certain degree. Kyrie Irving really didn't prove to be the leader he needs to be, and he only played 20 games this season. And it actually seemed like they played better without him this year. And with most of their best players not participating in Orlando, the Nets really didn't have a chance to compete in the first round of the playoffs. But it did offer some good experience for young players like Jared Allen and Karis LeVert. As they prepare for next season with Kyrie Irving and Durant coming back, they will automatically be looked at as championship contenders. They will also be looking for a head coach this offseason after firing Kenny Atkinson, who did nothing but improve the team almost every year. It seems like the Nets could use another guard in the rotation to go along with Irving, LeVert, and Dinwiddie. With the 19th pick in the draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Josh Green from the University of Arizona. Green has the size, strength, and athleticism to be the 3-and-D player that a lot of teams are looking for. He is 6'6", 210 pounds with a 6'10" wingspan. Along with his good athleticism, he also has good lateral quickness and speed, which allows him to keep up with ball handlers. Green is someone who excels in transition on the wing and has the leaping ability to play above the rim. He's very limited on offense because of his loose handles, and he does not project to be able to create his own shot in the NBA. He's primarily a spot-up shooter. He has a good release, and with more time he could be an above-average three-point shooter. He did shoot 36% from 3 on nearly 3 attempts per game at Arizona. Green gives constant effort on the defensive end. He is relentless. That's something any coach would love to see. He constantly applies pressure and agitates his opponents. Nobody has gotten more from late lottery picks and undrafted players in the last couple of years than the Miami Heat. They always been able to build a good foundation to set themselves up for a star player wanting to join them. It happened in 2010 with LeBron and Bosh, and last year with Jimmy Butler. Their future looks as bright as ever. Question is for the Heat, do they cash in with some of their young players for another star, or just wait for the 2021 free agency? Goran Dragic will be a free agent after this season, so point guard could be the priority for the Miami Heat. With the 20th pick in the draft, the Miami Heat select R.J. Hampton. Hampton had a rough and somewhat disappointing season overseas as he elected not to play college basketball. Once looked at as an easy top 10 pick early in the season, there are not questions about what kind of player he can be in the NBA. He battled injuries, was an inconsistent shooter, and had defensive lapses throughout his time overseas. But his defensive potential, athleticism, and playmaking upside are too promising to let him slide too far in the first round. Hampton has blazing speed in the open court. Sometimes it seems like he's the fastest player on the court on most nights. He's a good scorer in transition as he will grab the rebound and take it coast to coast for easy buckets. His offensive impact will be reduced until he forces defenses to respect his jumper. It's easier to contain a slasher if that player doesn't have an outside jump shot. A lot of work has to be put in for him to be a reliable shooter. His overall athleticism and effort level should at least turn him into an average defender. With proper coaching, you can get the best version of Hampton on defense. And with the culture that the Miami Heat has had since the 90s under Pat Riley, you won't get much playing time if you don't play defense. Hampton is a talented prospect who can play the point guard and off guard positions, but he needs a lot of developing before he gets consistent minutes in the NBA. Nobody is trusting the process anymore. This team seems to be stuck right now, and it'll be hard for them to find their way out of this. There's always a debate on if there are two franchise players, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, really complement each other, and if you had to choose which one to trade, which one would it be? Jimmy Butler's desire to play in Miami instead of Philly really put a potential end to the process. Giving Al Horford and Tobias Harris big contracts last summer seemed like a nail in the coffin for the 76ers. Now the franchise is at a crossroads, wondering when did everything go wrong. Even if they end up keeping Embiid and Simmons for the time being, they need outside shooting. With the 21st pick in the draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Terrell Terry from Stanford University. Terry has the ability to knock down shots from anywhere on the court and has extreme confidence to take almost any shot on the court. He can do it off the bounce and off the catch. He is fearless, but he does have the tendency to take bad shots. His three-point percentage could have been a lot higher than 41% if he didn't take a lot of difficult shots at times. He can also run the pick and roll very well and can find open teammates on their way to the basket. Has enough handles to create space for his jump shot, but he still needs to work on it. Terry is great when he's going to his right and firing one-handed passes across the court. Not only is his offensive game similar to Trae Young, but so is his defense. He has a small frame, which is the main part of the problem. Terry does have the necessary tools to develop into an average on-ball defender, but if he doesn't get much stronger, he'll be a liability on defense. But the 76ers defense has been ranked in the top 10 in the last couple of years. Maybe the players around Terry can make up for his defensive shortcomings. It will be worth it having him on the court if he can stretch the defense out with his shooting. The future for the Denver Nuggets looks as bright as ever. Nikola Jokic continues to be a top 10 player in this league, and Jamal Murray has proven to be a legit scorer and can be clutch at the end of games. But the emergence of young players like Michael Porter Jr. and Bol really has the NBA buzzing about the Nuggets. Both of their performances in the bubble has only amplified the optimism about their future with the team. They are currently playing against the Utah Jazz in the first round, and they are playing without Gary Harris and Will Barton. Harris has constantly had injury issues for the last couple of seasons now. Finding a two-guard with this pick could be the direction they go in. With the 22nd pick in the draft, the Denver Nuggets select Jahmias Ramsey from Texas Tech University. He came to Texas Tech as the highest rated recruit in program history. Ramsey brings a lot of energy on both sides of the court. He's listed at 6'4", 195 pounds, but he looks bigger than that, and he certainly plays bigger than that. He's a good athlete who has a versatile offensive skill set. Ramsey is a solid ball handler who can create his own offense. He loves driving to the basket, pulling up from mid-range, and shooting it from long distance. In his freshman season, he shot 42% from three-point land. He can at times force the issue and commit a lot of turnovers. The more he dribbles, the more he gets himself in trouble. Ramsey had an up and down year on defense. At times he will make a good stop on defense, and there are other times where he's undisciplined and gets lost on defense. But he did average 1.3 steals per game. Ramsey has a lot of tools to be an impactful offensive player on the next level, but cutting down on his turnovers and being more consistent on defense will make him a more complete player. Utah had another solid season that resulted in another playoff berth. Their offensive rating was better than last year, but also their defensive rating was worse than last year. You could say that their big free agent signing from last summer, Bojan Bogdanovic, had a lot to do with both. Mike Conley has not been nearly the player that Utah Jazz fans were expecting. He's been average at best. And when you make around $30 million a year, you need to play like a legit all-star. Donovan Mitchell has continued to look like a franchise player, carrying the offense throughout the regular season and the playoffs. Jordan Clarkson's offensive scoring punch really got the Jazz going before the suspension of the season. With Conley playing average to below average and Emmanuel Mudiay becoming a free agent after this season, the point guard position has become an important need for the Jazz going into this draft. With the 23rd pick in the draft, the Utah Jazz select Théo Maledon from France. Théo has good size and length for a combo guard as he measures in at 6'5" with a near 6'9" wingspan, has a great feel for the game, and has above average vision and is more than a willing passer. Théo will rather set up his teammates for easy buckets than take it himself. His maturity also stands out when watching him play. Sometimes he can get a little too unselfish and pass up open looks. He is not a supreme athlete by any means, but he's able to use his height, length, and craftiness to finish in the paint area. He has been a solid outside shooter, but his 82% free throw shooting over the last couple of years leads me to believe he can be a consistent shooter in the NBA with more time. His size also allows him to finish at the rim consistently. Théo is not consistent with his technique and fundamentals on defense. He can get lazy with his defensive stance and can get beaten off the dribble at times. He's still only 19 years old and has plenty working in his favor to be a productive NBA player for a long time. After losing in the conference finals last year to the Raptors, the Milwaukee Bucks came into this season with more motivation than ever to win an NBA championship. They had a hell of a regular season as they had the highest point differential in NBA history. Giannis will most likely win his second straight league MVP, but playoff success is all that matters. Can Giannis be the guy when the game gets tight in the fourth quarter? Will his supporting cast like Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe step up and provide much needed help, or will they disappear like last year? As much of a great regular season they had, it doesn't matter if they can't break through and make it to the NBA Finals. The Bucks could go a number of ways with this pick. Any player with some offensive upside will be a smart target for the Bucks. With the 24th pick in the draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Jaden McDaniels from the University of Washington. He was an enigma in his freshman year at Washington. When you see him, you see a player standing 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan and has the fluidity of a player like Kevin Durant and showed flashes of being a gifted scorer. He showed he can impact the game with his scoring, rebounding, shot blocking, and even a little playmaking. But there's a lot of red flags that will keep McDaniels out of the lottery and possibly out of the first round. He constantly took bad shots, had a nonchalant attitude, and led the conference in turnovers, personal fouls, and technical fouls. McDaniels showed he's a very undisciplined player, and he seemed to not realize how much he hurts the team. Being a good NBA player requires hard work, patience, and being a professional. You cannot check out mentally when your team is depending on you. That attitude will have to change, or McDaniels will be out of the league in no time. For the Milwaukee Bucks that doesn't have much flexibility to bring in more talent, taking a gamble on a gifted player like McDaniels could be worth it. He needs to learn from veteran players and break those bad habits he had at Washington. After losing Russell Westbrook and Paul George last summer, much was not expected from this team. Most experts, including myself, had OKC at the bottom of the league before the season started. OKC making the playoffs seemed like a pipe dream, but Chris Paul set the tone for this team with his leadership and unselfishness, and it resonated throughout the whole team. OKC was one of the best teams in the clutch all season. With all the draft picks they have accumulated over the last couple of years, this is a team that is set up for the future. Why not take a gamble on a super talented player who could blossom into a star in 3 or 4 years? With the 25th pick in the draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Aleksej Pokusevski from Serbia. He is probably the most intriguing prospect in the draft. Pokusevski has top 10 talent, but he doesn't have the pedigree or the profile like the other international players that could go in the first round. He played against low-level competition in Greece this past season. He has a unique skill set and mobility for a man his size. Pokusevski plays mostly on the perimeter. He shoots like a guard, dribbles like a guard, and passes like a guard. This guy is 7 feet tall with a 7'3" wingspan and a 9' 1" standing reach, but he's only around 200 pounds. Pokusevski can run off screens, is a good pick and pop threat, and has shown the ability to shoot off the bounce going downhill. He seems very comfortable with step backs and pull-up jumpers. Playing the 4 spot will be his natural position, but he's even versatile enough to play the small forward position. Adding weight is definitely a must to be able to withstand the physicality. More strength also could help his defense. He'll always get some block shots because of his quickness for his size and his long arms, but he'll get constantly pushed around in the paint. If his physicality ever catches up with his skill, he'll be a problem in the NBA. There's a good chance he could be a draft and stash prospect, which would not be a problem for the Thunder. With the 26th pick in the draft, the Boston Celtics select Leandro Balmero from Argentina. Balmero's feel for the game, size, and playmaking ability are the biggest selling points of his game. He's very confident and loves to control the offense with the ball in his hands. Standing 6'7", Balmero can survey the floor from a higher vantage point than a traditional point guard. That adds to his value as a prospect, being able to play multiple positions. His handles and craftiness allows him to get by his defenders, and he has a soft shooting touch with floaters and runners. He does not have elite quickness or athleticism. He has to rely on his handles, size, and basketball IQ. Balmero struggled with his outside jump shot this season. In 22 games this season, he shot 42% from the field and 28% from three, and also shot under 70% from the free throw line. Balmero is a good defender. He gives great effort and has the foot speed and size that helps him bother offensive players. He averaged 1.2 steals per game and a 3.9 steal percentage across all competitions this season, if he stayed overseas for a year or two before coming to the NBA. The Celtics have a lot of young players on the roster that they need to sort out. With the 27th pick in the draft, the New York Knicks select Cassius Stanley from Duke University. He might be the most athletic prospect in the draft. The gracefulness he has when he elevates is a thing of beauty. In the open court is where Stanley really flourishes. His speed and hustle, along with his leaping ability, help him get a lot of easy transition buckets. Stanley plays with great intensity and fire on both sides of the ball. His athleticism led to a lot of blocks and rebounds on the defensive end. He's not a guy who needs a lot of touches or shot attempts to be effective. While the point guard and RJ Barrett take most of the ball handling responsibilities, Stanley can make his mark in the offense on cuts to the basket and catch and shoot opportunities. He shot 36% from three and close to 53% on two-point shots. Given his athleticism and hustle, there's no reason why he can't be a high-level defender. He can come into the league right now and contribute. But he also has the upside to be more as he gets more experience. The Lakers were one of the hottest teams in the league before the shutdown happened. They were sluggish in the 8 regular season games in the bubble, and a lot of people were questioning if they were one of the favorites to win it all. But the Lakers proved in the next couple of games how great their defense is and have been all season. LeBron and AD are the best duo in the league, and the supporting cast making their outside shot could determine if they win it all or not. Rajon Rondo has been injured a lot in the last couple of years, and finding another point guard who can score and pass would help the Lakers out a lot. With the 28th pick in the draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Grant Riller from the College of Charleston. Few players in the country were better than this guy in the pick and roll. As a pick and roll ball handler, he ranked in the 97th percentile. His ability to create space for scoring opportunities is incredible, as he often uses a combination of hesitation and crossover dribbles to get his opponents off balance for his mid-range and three-point jumpers. There's no area of the court he can't score from. Riller ranked 7th best among Division I players in total isolation scoring, and he also was a great finisher at the rim as he shot 70% within 5 feet of the basket. He averaged around 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists in his senior year, and he shot 36% from deep. His defense will have to improve though. He has the tools to be a solid defensive player, but he didn't always give the same effort on defense as he did on offense. That could be because of the burden he had to carry on offense. His age at 23 and playing for a mid-major are the main reasons why he won't get drafted in the top 20. That's to the Lakers' benefit. Usually when a superstar leaves a team, that team takes at least a step back, maybe even 2. Not only have the Toronto Raptors maintained their level of play from last year, but you can make an argument that they are better. Their defense is ranked better than last year's team. Pascal Siakam was selected to his first All-Star team, and that solidified his place as one of the top players in the NBA. Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet teamed up in the backcourt and provided leadership and toughness to go along with their production. Nick Nurse has proven a lot of people wrong and was just named the Coach of the Year. Nobody thought this team would seriously compete for a championship this season, but they're one of the favorites to come out of the East. The point guard and the center spot would be the position I believe they would go at in this draft. Fred VanVleet is a free agent, and even if you bring him back, he has started alongside Lowry this season, and it would be a good idea to get a legit backup point guard behind those guys. And also Serge Ibaka and Marcus All are free agents. With the 29th pick in the draft, the Toronto Raptors select Isaiah Stewart from the University of Washington. Stewart is a bruising, undersized big man who is comfortable doing all the dirty work in the paint. He brings constant energy and effort on both ends of the court. Even though he's only 6'9", it's reported that he has a 7'4" wingspan, which will more than make up for his height. Stewart is a great finisher around the basket, and he had no problem scoring in the low post in college. He is still raw as a low post scorer, but there's some potential to be a steady scorer in the low post in the NBA. While Stewart still has a long way to go with his jump shot, he did shoot 77% from the free throw line this season. He'll make a name for himself as an energy guy, rebounder, a roll man, and a transition finisher, just like Montrezl Harrell. He was an excellent defender as a freshman and can defend one-on-one in the post and on switches. With the 30th pick in the draft, the Boston Celtics select Paul Reed from DePaul University. The big man on the Celtics, for the most part, can only play one side of the ball effectively. Paul Reed has the talent to be a two-way player. He has proven to have a good work ethic by constantly improving his game every year from his freshman season to his junior season. His defense is definitely ahead of his offense. He has the potential to be a true defensive anchor on the inside and the outside. Reed has the strength to guard big men in the post and has the lateral quickness to step out on the perimeter. In a league that switches on the pick and roll more than ever, he is exactly the kind of player you need on defense. He was a menace on the defensive end in his junior year. He racked up 2.6 blocks per game to go along with nearly 2 steals per game because of his long arms and activity. He was able to finish off the possession by securing the rebound as he averaged 10 boards a game. On offense, he makes the most of his opportunities as a roll man in the pick and roll, a rim runner, and getting out on a fast break. He's not a wizard in the low post, but he can use his quickness when he faces up to the basket. He was a decent outside shooter last season, but he needs to get better to be a legit two-way player the Celtics need. He could be one of the best defenders in the draft class.